Self-awareness is a superpower. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. This video is about Mercury in Sagittarius. So Mercury is the smallest and fastest moving planet and the closest to the sun. You can imagine our sun as the king and Mercury is the king's messenger. The king's messenger is extremely important because it is the king's messenger who is going to get the king's word out. Normally, it is the king's messenger that holds information that could be detrimental to the kingdom, that holds information that can be life or death. Mercury having to do with communication and information in a everyday type of way, where Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, has to do with information on an expansive type of level. So having Mercury in Sagittarius is a person who is very expansive when it comes to their way of thinking, and the kind of information that they consume. This is a person who is very philosophical when it comes to basically the kind of books that they read and the kind of information that they consume. Like, this is the kind of person that goes deep into anything that they study, goes so deep into it that they can be a professor if they want to. They could be a teacher if they want to, because they get so heavily into whatever subject or topics that they're into. Because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and when I think of Jupiter being the planet of expansion, I think of it as like a magnifying glass. I think of Jupiter as a magnifying glass. And then I think of Sagittarius, the Sagittarian bow and arrow. And the bow and arrow represents the Sagittarius's mind, and wherever they shoot the arrow and wherever that arrow lands, the magnifying glass, which is Jupiterian energy, is going to expand that. And basically that's how they shoot their attention wherever, and then it expands it and they dive deep and learn it to a higher level. That is why Jupiter or Sagittarius rules the 9th house. And the 9th house has to do with basically higher learning. It has to do with higher learning in the sense that scholastical education, something that you go to college to learn, or even you taking your education to the next level and getting more deeper and in depth with it. The 9th house also has to do with foreign travel. So like Mercury ruling Gemini will have to do with local traveling, local information about our local news or our local community. Mercury in Sagittarius is like world news. You know, people with Mercury in Sagittarius, they like to learn about all different cultures and not just their own. They like to focus on the bigger picture. These people are bigger picture thinkers. And I feel like it's good to be a bigger picture thinker, but sometimes you can miss out or miss a lot that's also located in the details. So yeah, with Mercury in Sagittarius, you might be focused on the big pictures. You might get annoyed with people who want to like keep you pulled into the details, because it's like, who cares about the small stuff? But sometimes the details, the smaller stuff, is the foundation of that bigger thing that can help you to, that basically can help you to understand something more. I feel like an example of that is a lot of Sagittarians, period. Sagittarians are known to be the kind that will date outside of their race and just always want something that's different from themselves. I feel like they themselves is like the details. So with you, say with your Mercury and Sagittarius, like you yourself and your background is the detail. And because it's familiar, you might not take the time to fully learn it or understand it, and automatically put your attention to something that seems more expansive, something that seems more important because it's unfamiliar, when really, if you were to take the time to focus on the details, which is yourself, you might find that in the process of learning about your culture or wherever it is that you're from, learning about those details, you might find that you learn so much more about others or the outside world just from learning about the small details of where you're from, what's familiar to you. Because you might look at it, oh, that's familiar, that's what I know growing up, but never took the time to basically shoot your arrow at it so that it could expand with the magnifying glass that Jupiter is. So yeah, with Mercury and Sag, these people like to learn about anything foreign, anything that is different from themselves, anything that isn't familiar, because familiar is boring. Because with Sagittarian energy, it's anywhere but here. Like Sagittarian energy wants to be anywhere but here. So I find that Sagittarians will escape from their current reality through learning about other cultures, learning about other things, because once something becomes familiar, it becomes boring. So say, for example, you're learning about another culture and you learn about the other culture and you decide to get married to someone from that culture. After 5 years or 10 years, it's like, okay, you're getting a divorce now because, you might say, basically whatever your reason might be, but it might just be because that person is now familiar. You've learned everything you can learn about them and it's no longer exciting. And I feel like life will always be that way, when in fact, turn that energy around and focus on learning about yourself, learning about the different things about yourself that you might overlook, assuming that you already know these things. And that's another thing with Mercury and Sagittarius. Mercury and Sagittarius, or just Sagittarius sun person, period. Like, it is hard to teach a Sagittarian anything. Because Sagittarians are so well read, or they like to pretty much learn different things and consume different information. It's as if they feel like they know it all. And I feel like being a fire sign and being ruled by Jupiter has the ability to just, like, some things are already within, basically everything is already within all of us, everything that could possibly exist. And Jupiter has to do with that inner wisdom that is within all of us. And I feel like because Sagittarians are aware of that inner wisdom, even if they're not aware of it, they know that they just know things and don't know how they know. And the things they know and just know have been accurate in the past. So because they didn't know how they know, they just trust that they always know. And because of that, it might be hard to teach a Sagittarian new things, even when they don't know, because of their experience of just knowing. Just don't know how they know, but they just know. One thing with your Mercury in Sagittarius, if your sun sign and your Mercury sign are totally different, if Mercury is in a different sign from your sun, then you will experience a delay in communication as far as how you process information and even getting it out of you and delivering it. Because the sun has to do with who we identify as and our ego, our identity. And Mercury is the information that we consume, how we relate to it, and how we get it back out. So say, for example, you are a Scorpio sun or a Capricorn sun, but Mercury is in Sagittarius. who you identify as and the way you communicate and the kind of information that you consume are going to not be in alignment. So say, for example, you identify as a Scorpio sun because your sun is in Scorpio, but Mercury is in Sagittarius. Basically, you will communicate and come off in a way that is way more friendlier than who you identify as. Same thing with Sun in Capricorn and Mercury in Sag. It's like Capricorn and Scorpio can have this really intense and serious energy about it, mainly because Capricorn having Saturn as a father and Scorpio having Pluto and Mars, the god of the underworld and the general, the war planet as a father. Scorpio and Capricorn could be a little bit intense. So it's like you'll identify as someone who is intense, but the kind of information that you consume about other people's culture and about wanting to learn about other people more and who you identify as, it's like not in alignment. So you might find yourself in situations that it's like, how the hell did I get here? Because the information that you're consuming and who you identify as isn't in alignment. So it can create almost like an identity crisis type of situation, having Mercury and your sun in two different places. But I feel like it could be helpful because it can help you to understand different perspectives having that kind of situation. And with Sagittarius being so brutally honest, because having Mercury here is someone who is going to speak their truth, and basically it's not that they're trying to be shady. They're not trying to hurt your feelings. See, as a Scorpio, I love Sages, even though Sag women could be a bit much for others or the men, whatever, because the women more, I find this more with the women, they're straight up, they're brutally honest, and it is what it is, take it or leave it. I really appreciate this about them because with my Scorpio sun and Mercury in Scorpio, I could be a bit overprotective of myself and guarded at times. And with Sages, you don't have to wonder what time it is with them because they're going to say it. Like if anything, you might run into issues with them because they're so brutally honest. They done hurt your ego and you don't know how to handle it. But I really appreciate this about them because that fire element that they have about them is just going to fire the truth straight at you like an arrow. They're going to shoot the truth at you, and they're going to do it, for the greater good of you. They're going to tell you the truth because you need to hear the truth. So Mercury in Sagittarius is direct. It's straightforward. It is confident in its speech. It is Mercury in Sag. It's very direct speech and very smart, confident in the way that they communicate because of their knowing. They just know. They don't know how they know, but they know. And then they also study a lot too. They like to communicate with people who can teach them things, even though I did mention that it is hard to teach them things because they tend to know. When they do communicate or when they do interact with people who can teach them new things, and they find that they admire the way how you communicate or whatever it is about you because it's different from them, you will get their ear and you are able to teach them new things if they realize that you do have something to teach. I really appreciate this energy, Mercury and Sag. I really enjoy communicating with this energy, and I am also often challenged by this energy because I have a 4th house stellium, which is Sagittarius. I have a Sagittarius stellium. I also have that kind of energy where it could be hard to, because with that Sagittarian energy, I also have that knowing, and I also like to study deep and get deep into a lot of things. So because of that, it's not often that you come across with people who come across people who are as dedicated as you are to finding knowledge, as you guys could probably relate to. It's not often that you come across people who are dedicated in seeking knowledge and uplifting themselves that way. So you could be pretty critical, but when you do come across people that, you know, you realize they're not a fraud, they've really done the work, they've really dived deep, they really know this thing, it's like you admire that. And I find too that some Mercury and Sages who are more traditional really value scholastic education. Like for them, getting a college education is extremely important, where say, you know, we're moving into a new way of being where instead of pushing scholastic education, they might push just the need to just educate yourself on what's going on in the world, or learn about planting and farming, but basically education is extremely important for Mercury in Sagittarius. If you are still here with me, I would love to hear about it. Please drop me a thumbs up in the comment box below to let me know you have made it here with me. And if you're a Sag and you've made it all the way here, I feel special. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Drop me a thumb emoji in the comment box below. Please subscribe to this channel. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.